Hey everyone, I think I'm going to get a lot of hate mail because I do every time I bring this up. But I think when I watch the news and they talk about how we need to wash our hands, social distancing, the masks, of course, what else do we need to pay attention to? Not going out when we're sick. I like that last one especially. People used to show up to work in all sorts of conditions. I'm a private tutor, and people used to show up in all sorts of conditions to the tutoring center. And okay, well, one last piece of advice: stop eating with your hands, please. I don't get it. We need to wash our hands, but we're okay with putting our hands in our mouth for whatever reason, right? This is one thing that Wallace. I'm in the Rocky Mountains right now, Wallace, Idaho. I praise Wallace a lot, and the Rockies in general a lot, but there's one thing I don't like about Wallace, is that we have a lot of Italian Americans here, and they love finger foods. I see a lot more here. Oh well, I still think we're handling COVID a whole lot better here than over in Seattle, so I can let that slide. But I think in general, it'd be nice to not put our fingers in our mouth so much. And the reason I don't like finger foods, it's kind of funny. When I was 14 years old, I took a course on chemistry, a college level course, if you can believe it. I was going to college part-time at this time, and I had learned about electrolysis and how it could be used to make chlorine, which is kind of funny because I'm using it right now for making hypochlorous acid. I talked about this in another video. So I used to have big fears that I would have salt on my fingers, and then I would go touch some electronic device, right? Maybe a remote control or the computer, and it would give off little bits of chlorine gas, right? I just had big fears of that. I knew chlorine was used in the wars, and so I had big fears about that. I didn't think much about infectious disease at the time, but I had big fears about getting chlorine gas. It was obviously not even close to being enough. You'd have to have a very sophisticated setup to make enough chlorine to kill yourself at home, right? Even if you really tried. But sometimes a little bit of knowledge can be a little dangerous. And then when I was 15 years old, SARS-1 happened, and by that time I don't know why. I've never loved eating with my hands. I don't understand why. Actually, when I was 15, when SARS broke out, I remember I would get a bag of potato chips, and instead of eating them from the bag, I would pour them out into a bowl and then use chopsticks. And it didn't seem to bother me. My dad made fun of me for that. I didn't care. I actually liked it because it kind of slowed me down when I was eating it. And so I knew from a very early age that one of the main reasons that viruses would go from your mouth into your body was from finger foods. And somehow everybody... I always get a lot of hate mail every time I tell people to stop eating with their fingers. I always do. I don't know why. But it's not even just about diseases. It's also about slowing yourself down, right? It's so easy to overeat. Every time I eat with my hands, which I really try not to, every time I do, though, I always go from being extremely hungry to extremely full, like, instantly. Like, it's a good sign that you ate too fast when that happens. And I hate it. Any barrier I could put in between my reaching for food and my thinking about food and my reaching for it, I love. Right? So one of my favorite things to do is to have some kind of barrier, right? For example, if I can do this, let's say all my food is at home and I'm working remotely right now. If I can go somewhere else to work remotely, and in order to eat I have to go home to eat it, there's a barrier, right? Or better yet, if there's right now I'm staying at an Airbnb, if there's a store that's like several blocks away, maybe not get the food until I actually want it. So it puts a barrier. Do I really need it so badly that I'm willing to walk 3 blocks in the snow to go get it? Or do I really need it so badly that, you know, right now it's really nice, the washing your hands advice, right? Because if you have to wash your hands before you can eat, it puts a barrier, right? Any sort of distance. I personally, I even call it social distancing, right? When there's a distance between your mouth and your food, or I make it a rule to not eat when I'm working now, right? Whether it be remotely or in the office, I make it a rule not to eat anymore. I call it putting some social distancing in between my workspace and my food. I like it because it forces me to think, right? The last thing you want is to have consumed tens of thousands of calories and not even have a good recollection of it, and not even getting any enjoyment out of it, right? So, I've traveled to other places around the world. People don't eat it with their fingers nearly as much. See, I've been to Taiwan, obviously, and they eat a lot. I mean, if you go down any of the alleys in Taiwan, it's always food vendors. Very rarely do I see anything that could be easily eaten with your hands. I've been to China. They have similarly, they have vendors and stuff, and people might order a bowl of bat soup, and then they got to sit down and eat, right? You don't eat it with your fingers, right? I've been to Poland as well. I guess the closest thing to finger food they have is the kielbasa sausages, right? That you do walk around eating it, but they don't feel the need to be at a bus stop or on a bus and eating a bag of chips. That's an American tradition, right? I think that's part of the reason for all the COVID-19 here, right? Where else have I traveled to? Japan. Definitely not too many finger foods over there. Anyway, stop eating with your hands, please. And you might not even need to wash them so much, right? One thing I have noticed this year that I've stopped eating with my fingers so much, first of all, I feel I don't have to wash my hands so much, and my hands are feeling a whole lot better. They're not chapped up like they used to be. And second, my electronic devices seem to hold up a whole lot better. They don't get sticky or wet or short out or have all sorts of problems, right? And oh, my car steering wheel also doesn't get a sticky mess, right? I don't spill things in the car. I tend to be a lot more motivated at work as well. It's kind of funny, when we were in phase 2 and we had to go back to the office and people would offer me food or talk about lunch, I say, you know, sorry, I don't eat I don't eat at work anymore because I want to be able to focus on work and focus on my food. People made fun of me until they noticed that I'm actually getting a whole lot more done and done correctly, right? It's funny. Now people don't bother me anymore about it. But when we first went back to phase 2, people tormented me nonstop and made fun of this guy who doesn't eat at work anymore. Hopefully, I won't have to explain myself when we go back to phase 2 again. We had to slide back to phase 1, unfortunately. All right, thanks for watching.